thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, you guys. We're gonna have a full house today. Oh man,
very full.
It's gonna be a great day for everybody. Not only because it's Friday, December 19th, but today is National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. You guys.
Oh, I should have put mine on. Dang it.
I was going to wear mine today. I thought about it for a second. I was like, oh, maybe it's green. It's
maybe
not
Gwen
work
can
with
bring it
scheme.
to me and I'll put it on off camera.
But I do have the best. The best ugly sweater. It's probably,
I have a pretty darn good one.
I have Trump and Santa together, and it says
that is good.
And it says Santa's favorite felon.
There you go.
I figured Dr. Mark would appreciate that. You know what I mean?
I thought that was me. Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's also National Oatmeal Muffin Day today, you guys.
I did not know they made oatmeal muffins.
Yes,
oatmeal cookie.
And
I can get down with oatmeal muffin
with high fructose corn syrup.
Yes,
right?
and just so you know, there needs to be an equal amount of raisins in every oatmeal muffin.
Well, that would be an oatmeal raisin muffin.
Yes. And let's see. It's also National Hard Candy Day. Shout out to Jolly Ranchers, huh?
Let's go.
Mm-hmm. It's National Underdog Day.
All right, let's go. Cannabis is definitely the underdog industry of the century.
Yes, and today will be the first day known in the history of the world as the day that cannabis was rescheduled, the first full day. Yes, that's a national day now. Yes, it's a national day now.
It's in the process.
It's
not done yet.
If I said it, it is now a national day. You know what I'm talking about, Dr. T.
Illusions of grandeur. Come on, man.
I think that's so funny though, because now we're getting to that level where
we're already getting into it. Hold on.
And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of these platforms. And we are going to kick it off today with Mr. Jesse Barney, who is going to read today the full executive order, and we're going to do a deep dive into this, and we may get into all the stories today, we may not, whatever, but we're going to, relate all the stories back to this new executive order and break it down for you guys as far as what this means, what's in there, what's not in there, and what this actually means for you, your medicine, you as a patient, you as a business owner, and everything else like that, what you can do, what you can't do, all of that good stuff. And so now, without further ado, we're going to bring up Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co. and can take your brand to the highest plateaus, and he may have even worked on some of the branding for this executive order. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney.
I wish. I'd love to do some political stuff. That'd be fun. I haven't done any political stuff in a long time. I did do a campaign for the mayor of Bozeman once, but
there we go.
That was that. All right, so here's the title of the executive order. This is a little bit long to read. apologies. We're going to read the whole thing because it's really important that we hear every word.
You got to have the context.
I'm gonna try to read it as clearly as I possibly can because this is very important. And then we'll do a deep dive on what we think is going on. We have Dale on here, who's our resident lawyer who can help us understand some of the legal language, and we'll see what's actually happening, okay, or as much as we can. And a lot of it still is conjecture. We don't really know what's going to be happening. So,
I do.
Increasing medical marijuana and cannabidiol research is the title of the executive order. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, the purpose and policy. Americans deserve access to the best medical treatments and research infrastructure in the world. In 2023, the Food and Drug Administration completed a review of the landscape of medical use of marijuana and found scientific support for its use to treat anorexia related to a medical condition, nausea and vomiting, and pain. Chronic pain affects nearly 1 in 4 United States adults and more than 1 in 3 United States seniors. And 6 in 10 people who use medical marijuana report doing so to manage pain. 40 states plus the District of Columbia have state or locally sanctioned regulated medical marijuana programs. Yet decades of federal drug control policy have neglected marijuana's medical uses. That oversight has limited the ability of scientists and manufacturers to complete the necessary research on safety and efficacy to inform doctors and patients. Marijuana is currently controlled under Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. In 2023, the Department of Health and Human Services recommended to the Drug Enforcement Agency that marijuana be controlled under Schedule 3 of the CSA. Schedule 1 drugs are defined as drugs with no currently accepted medical use, a high potential for abuse, and a lack of accepted safety for the use of the drug under medical supervision. Schedule 3 drugs are classified as having a potential for abuse less than the drugs or other substances in Schedules 1 and 2, a currently accepted medical use in treatment in the United States, and a potential for moderate or low physical dependence or high psychological dependence in the event of drug abuse. The recommendation from HHS included a determination that medical marijuana has a currently accepted medical use. That determination was based in part on a finding by the HHS Office of the Assistant Secretary of Health that more than 30,000 licensed healthcare practitioners across 43 United States jurisdictions are authorized to recommend the medical use of marijuana for more than 6 million registered patients to treat at least 15 medical conditions. It was also based on a finding by the FDA of credible scientific support to substantiate the use of marijuana in the treatment of pain, anorexia related to certain medical conditions, and nausea and vomiting induced by chemotherapy. The National Institute on Drug Abuse concurred with the FDA's recommendation that marijuana be rescheduled from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the CSA. In May of 2024, the Department of Justice issued a proposed rule to reschedule marijuana to Schedule 3. The proposed rule received nearly 43,000 public comments and is currently awaiting an administrative law hearing. The federal government's long delay in recognizing the medical use of marijuana does not serve the Americans who report health benefits from the medical use of marijuana to ease chronic pain and other various medically recognized ailments. Americans who often seek alternative relief from chronic pain symptoms are particularly impacted. For example, in one research survey, 20% of participating United States veterans reported using fewer opioids as a result of their medical marijuana use. 1 in 10 seniors used marijuana in the last year, and some evidence shows improvements in seniors' health-related quality of life and pain with medical marijuana use. However, the current Schedule 1 position of marijuana has impeded research. The lack of appropriate research on medical marijuana and consequent lack of FDA approval leaves American patients and doctors without adequate guidance on appropriate prescribing and utilization. One patient survey showed that just 56% of older Americans using marijuana have discussed the usage with their healthcare provider. This places patients, especially seniors who may be on multiple medications, at the increased risk of drug interactions or other adverse events. The federal government must improve the research infrastructure for medical marijuana to better serve Americans. In addition to medical marijuana, which is primarily made up of two cannabinoids, cannabidiol and tetrahydrocannabinol, hemp-derived cannabinoid products defined by Section 297A of the Agricultural Marketing Act of 1946 have shown potential to improve patient symptoms for common ailments and are frequently used by Americans. 1 in 5 United States adults and nearly 15% of seniors reported using CBD in the past year, and chronic pain patients have reported improvements with CBD use in clinical studies. Furthermore, evidence suggests that the amount of THC in hemp-derived cannabinoid products can affect both pain treatment efficacy and adverse events. Hemp-derived cannabinoids, as defined in 7 U.S.C. 1639-0, are not controlled substances under the CSA, but are subject to the same authorities and requirements as FDA-regulated products containing any other substance. Adding complexity is the fact that some full-spectrum CBD products will once again be controlled as marijuana under the CSA when Section 781 of Public Law 11937 goes into effect because they contain THC levels above the per-container threshold set by that law. Further, a recent study found that some commercially available CBD products evaluated were inaccurately labeled regarding CBD isolate, broad spectrum, or full spectrum composition, posing safety risks for consumers. In short, the current legal landscape leaves American patients and doctors without adequate guidance or product safeguards for CBD. It is the policy of my administration to increase medical marijuana and CBD research to better inform patients and doctors. It is critical to close the gap between current medical marijuana and CBD use and the medical knowledge of risks and benefits, including for specific populations and conditions. Research methods and models should include real-world evidence and should facilitate affordable access in order to rapidly assess the health outcomes of medical marijuana and legal CBD products while focusing on long-term health effects in vulnerable populations like adolescents and young adults. Okay, Section 2. Rescheduling medical marijuana and improving access to cannabidiol products. A. The Attorney General shall take all necessary steps to complete the rulemaking process related to rescheduling marijuana to Schedule 3 of the CSA in the most expeditious manner in accordance with federal law, including 21 U.S.C. 811. B. The Assistant to the President and Deputy Chief of Staff for Legislative, Political, and Public Affairs shall work with the Congress to update the statutory definition of final hemp-derived cannabinoid products to allow Americans to benefit from access to appropriate full-spectrum CBD products while preserving the Congress's intent to restrict the sale of products that pose serious health risks. This will include consultation with appropriate executive departments and agencies and authorities to develop a regulatory framework for hemp-derived cannabinoid products, including development of guidance on an upper limit on milligrams of THC per serving with considerations on per-container limits and CBD to THC ratio requirements. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Commissioner of Food and Drugs, the Administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and the Director of the National Institutes of Health shall develop research methods and models utilizing real-world evidence to improve access to hemp-derived cannabinoid products in accordance with federal law and to inform standards of care. Section 3, general provisions, which these are not so important. These are like legal housekeeping, but I'll read them anyways. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof, or the functions of the director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. B, this order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. C, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or its entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. D, the cost for publication of this order shall be borne by the Department of Health and Human Services. Donald J. Trump, the White House, December 18th, 2025. Okay, so I did a deep dive. I'm sure many of you did on this yesterday. I read a ton of articles and what people's summaries were, what they thought was going to happen. I used ChatGPT and Grok to see what they kind of pumped out when I asked it to summarize and act as a lawyer and a 20-year cannabis compliance lawyer.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, right. So I have a few notes that I pulled together that I think are really highlights of this. And some of them are kind of like reading between the lines, and some of them are very distinctly written in here. First, the thing that I think is awesome is that Donald Trump in this executive order very distinctly recognizes that there is medical value and existing proof of that medical value and that it's been overlooked. I think that's very important. And I think it's very cool that he did that. Two, Trump, he specifically calls out the federal agencies for falling short and for not getting this done sooner, and saying this was all in process for years and it could have just been done. And now he's doing it. And he called it in his meeting, he called it common sense. This is just obvious common sense. Three, this executive order creates a distinction between high THC cannabis and CBD hemp, setting the stage for type 1, 2, and 3. I think that they know that that's going on and they're trying to prepare for that. So they're seeing that there's these different types of cannabis and that they have different functions. And he's setting that up by distinguishing between the two, right? Next, Attorney General Pam Bondi is directed to expedite the rulemaking of Schedule 3 as fast as possible. In other words, it's not over yet. This is the beginning of the end. And I think that's one of the problems with a lot of the news out there is that it's saying that it's already Schedule 3. It's not. Today, right now, cannabis is still Schedule 1. And until this rulemaking is finished, it will be Schedule 1. So this is a direction to expedite. And as we've said many times, Trump can't just unilaterally make it Schedule 3. He has to have the DOJ and the FDA work together and the HHS to work together to finish this rulemaking process. And there's actually going to be a chance for legal opposition as well once the rulemaking is done. So this is still a fight. There's still things going on. And that's important to note. It's not Schedule 3 today. So and that's my next note, is there could be a legal challenge from legalization opponents, and there probably will be. So
I don't know about that because Project Sam lost all their funding when USAID got defunded, so there may not be a lot of opposition.
That's fine. There still could be. There still could be
opposition when you're leading on the medical leg. It is actually really hard to organize against that. It's easier to organize against adult use, but I want
Yeah.
you to finish your analysis, and then
Yeah.
we can go into the whole history
Right.
of it
Something that I believe that this order is implementing is that medical cannabis programs in the states will now become fully legal under Schedule 3, while adult use programs will stay federally illegal. And in fact, that gap will probably be increased by this happening. So what that means is that
win right there.
You're going to have the possibility of increased federal enforcement and definitely banking and tax limitations, which is going to squeeze out adult use markets even faster than before and improve the medical markets. So gone are the days of the $5,000 a month bank account for adult use businesses. For banks, it's going to be you're either a medical company or you're not at all. So that's going to change. So be ready for that. I think that the financial abilities for adult use companies is going to completely change. You're not going to have any access to money or any tax, anything going on. So the executive order recognizes the misstep of the appropriations bill. I think that's very important. Full spectrum CBD products must be understood and THC limits adjusted accordingly. Without saying it exactly directly, he's saying that the recent appropriations bill that has banned hemp and has limited all these things is a misstep and it needs to be readjusted. So
I hope you guys heard that.
He's mandating that they re-examine this and be more thorough with this new understanding that he's trying to introduce through this executive order, and that there needs to be more medical understanding and it needs to be looked at, and full spectrum CBD should be accessible to Americans. Very clearly directing that. We're going to see what happens, but that's about that. And then the last thing, it doesn't solve the cannabis prisoners problem. It would have been nice if there would have been a mention of that, of clemency for cannabis prisoners, but there wasn't. So that's something that I find lacking.
That's going to be a separate issue that's handled by a different department, Jesse. And
that's fine. That's
already being worked on. But I want to start off with Dr. T.
Well, lastly, I have one more thing to say.
Okay. Sorry, Jesse. Go ahead.
And this is the coolest part.
Okay.
This is a historic day. This will be remembered forever in history, especially in the cannabis world, as the moment that cannabis finally shifted to a true legalization of some kind. So that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
And that's all I have to say.
All right. So I want to go into Dr. T first, because Dr. T has always been advocating every time consistently for as long as I've known you, like over 20 years, Dr. T, for full spectrum whole plant medicine. And there is that carve out for that in this executive order, which, how I interpret it, doesn't allow for the big corporate takeover of big pharma to come in and monopolize every individual compound and switch that whole thing up, because they're allowing for full spectrum meds. And what do you think about this, Dr. T?
Yeah, I'm watching for the next step. This is great news. I love some of the language. I love the fact that they mention real world evidence a couple of times, because pharma traditionally doesn't use real world evidence often. And so that's a little curveball to defining things as well. What is the definition of hemp and marijuana? Even in the title, confusing. Like, marijuana and CBD products. Like, CBD's in marijuana, CBD's in hemp.
Yep.
So are you talking about marijuana and hemp? Or are you talking about THC and CBD? They're mixing their stories right in the title. And It's like, what are you talking about? So definitions are big in terms of this. I love the inclusion of full spectrum. It looks like they've been listening to us. That's good.
That's right.
What that means exactly, it's been defined in the hemp bill In the Farm Bill, I'm sorry, but or the hemp industry defines full spectrum anyway. But full spectrum can be a type 3 and it could be a type 1, right? Very different amounts of THC in both of those, and so we need definition. They've got to really throw out this hemp marijuana thing. I mean, it just continues to make such a mess of things.
Dr. T, I think the fact of how he worded it, I think it actually sets it up for full legalization when it comes around to re-editing the Farm Bill. The fact that he gave the directive to say, hey, this is just ridiculous that you guys passed this in the first place, and really, I just see that also as a snub towards Marijuana Mitch. Like, hey, like this wasn't necessary. You didn't need to do this. You had everything going. You were all good. I signed the 2018 Farm Bill in the first place. I knew it was happening, and basically you guys need to rectify it and ratify it. And I think this will ultimately give them the ability to just deschedule cannabis through the upcoming the new revised Farm Bill of 2026.
I'm with you on that, Jason, but there's two pathways this can take, at least in my mind, and it all depends on if they want to play nice in the sandbox or if they want to take it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I also agree they are trying to use very specific words, and I feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall when I explain to everybody marijuana is one regulatory structure, hemp is another regulatory structure. President Trump has now confirmed what the hemp operators have been saying, that it is actually legally sound. And I'm hoping when they're having those conversations about full spectrum, it is a conversation about THCA in acid form, non-psychoactive, can be consumed and not smoked, not always decarboxylated. And this might be the only way to have flower accessible through a hemp program where we redefine what makes medical marijuana at certain thresholds and what is full spectrum hemp flower, which is cannabis. It's the same.
I agree.
And I do think that they are having those conversations because Governor, I'm not all Texas because I'm all Texas. Y'all know I grew up split between. I grew up split between the North and the South. I grew up between Minnesota and Texas.
Whatever. So,
and I'm telling you from this perspective of growing up between two worlds, that it was very clear to me through the Texas ledge, that Governor Abbott was still, obviously he was taking pages from President Trump. We had the whole gerrymander conversation. It was a direct order. And so I don't think that they weren't having conversations about the conversations we were having. And I know damn well that the folks, I know THBC, the Texas Hemp Business Council, was in DC and was advocating before the hemp ban. It wasn't just the brands that you typically see. Some brands don't slap their name all over what they're doing. A lot of respect for those guys. THBC was definitely there, and they do have the ear of some of these folks, including Governor Abbott. And what we saw in Texas was a push for medical marijuana and at least a little protection for now based on how we define things federally for this hemp industry, because I am praying to God that they are starting to get the message, and we need to keep repeating it in this conversation, that if we ever want cannabis to be really for the people and by the people, we have to have that robust, healthy, open hemp market and the medical market.
It's all going to be the same thing, Shaun. It's all going to be the same thing, because you know how I see this.
Maybe.
Hold on.
Too much overlap for it to be different.
I'm going to let you. There's a lot of overlap, but you have to. So you're going to have nutraceuticals, but when it comes to pharmaceutical medicine, there is a huge difference.
There's not going to be that. There's not going to be that play, because they allowed for full spectrum in there. So I don't see that coming into
full spectrum.
It's a major carve out.
Two different.
It totally screws the whole fundamentals of the FDA and how they operate.
They're going to change how the FDA operates. They put RFK in that position for a reason.
Stop it. Listen, that's wishful thinking right there.
Can you let me finish? Let me finish the.
Go for it.
wishful thinking. This guy has done nothing but try to restructure all of our government programs since he entered the office. So I would not be surprised if, because the FDA has stalled on answering the cannabis question, and I've talked to folks about this, Frank Colombo gave me his insights. And what he said is the way the FDA is currently structured and the way that we make rules is they are not prepared to deal with the question of cannabis from an administrative and definition perspective. And so I do think that they are going to create something new, and they need to when it comes to peptides, these all of these things. You saw how Ozempic was monetized. You're going to see cannabis monetized through a pharmaceutical lens in the same way for very specific players. And they are going to protect that. And it's not just going to be some wide open, we're all running through the meadow with flowers and everyone gets to play. Hell no. They're going to give it to people who are already invested and have already had a lot of money put in and will be able to operate at that pharmaceutical level. And I do think for my friends in hemp, and we'll do a deeper dive next week. All right.
Hold on. We got
to take over those cannabinoids, those synthesized Delta-9, all of that. I'm worried that that's going to get captured exclusively by pharmaceutical, but we'll be able to have at least hopefully the flower.
So we're gonna go into this component, because how I see this, how this executive order is written, Dr. Mark. I hope you're ready for this, Dr. Mark, because how I see this, and I really want to hear your opinion on this, because in my opinion, now how we were all saying it's all THCA. Now, as far as I'm concerned, CBD is the new THCA. And anyone that's growing can easily just say that they're growing for CBD, and that will stop any law enforcement intervention now due to this executive order. What do you think about this, Dr. Mark?
So this is exactly what I predicted last week on this show at High at 9 News.
Yes.
Exactly, Shaun. Do you remember? I said HHS is going to carve this thing out of the FD&C Act. And that's exactly what happened. Thank you very much. I predicted the future. Geez, if I could do that more often, I'd be sitting on a beach somewhere, right?
Hey. But then you wouldn't have all that snow out there.
Me and Uncle Dale will be out on the beach somewhere. So I think this is all great. I think it was great that Paige Figgy, Charlotte Figgy's mom,
I saw that,
was right there.
Yep.
Right. And, we've talked about it before, the whole Make America Healthy Again and wanting to break the revolving door that exists between the FDA and the agency that regulates the industry and the people who go back and forth between large pharmaceutical and industrial ag and food and then become regulators and then go back and get nice golden parachutes between those jobs. I think this might be the beginning of the end of that process. I mean, the cool thing, again, and Jason, you recognize this, right, with the whole plant extract.
Yep.
And I think what Jesse Red covered it, which is that, this is a completely different thing than the FDA has dealt with in the past, where they take a single active ingredient, a single molecule, and pack it into some formulation and look at the efficacy of that drug, right? So the drug is basically usually a single molecule. If cannabis teaches us anything, cannabis teaches us a lot of things, but if it teaches us anything, is that it's not all about just the one molecule. Yeah, it's easy to just kind of like draw the attention to THC because we know that agonizing your CB1 receptor with THC leads to the psychoactive effect. And that's my biggest question, Jesse, based on what you had said, Jesse, which was that this is going to impact adult use markets.
Yep.
I've been posting on mostly just on Facebook, just kind of ribbing it. The whole thing is that moving.
That's an educated guess, by the way. That we don't know, but
right.
We can guess that it's going to.
So I'll just say it. I think I said it, and Shaun quoted me on Instagram, which is moving a plant that people can grow themselves to Schedule III, relying on a doctor's prescription to get MSO grown mids at Walgreens isn't going to work. I don't see any of my friends doing that to go get their weed. maybe again, and I'm all about access, Dr. T. Believe me, I love you. I love the doctors that have embraced using cannabis in their practices. And if this opens up access to people like Charlotte Figge and other sick kids, and I heard some things on the news yesterday at NPR about from a veterans organization saying that this is really a game changer for veterans.
Yes, it
if
is.
This increases access for veterans to cannabis, I'm all about it. Wonderful. But again, I want to see how this plays out in terms of how it's going to impact the regulated markets. Dale, this is a typical case of federal versus state law. So if these businesses are operating underneath state law, can the feds really come in and say, hey, no, you can't do this dispensary grow thing? Or and they?
Oh.
Yeah.
And let me just say, I like to play the role of the turd in the punch bowl.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be the turd in the punch bowl here because I read this myself. I also took a look at 21 U.S.C. 811, which is the steps you have to take to D or reschedule. And when you compare what he issued as an executive order, what these rules are, then I see multiple issues here. First of all, Section 1's political.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in court and somebody starts spouting, well, the president said this, it's like irrelevant. Stop it. Take a look at Section 2. Okay? And there's mandatory language in there, but the mandatory language tells you to do what? Take all steps necessary. What does that mean? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's really trying to do is take it out of neutral where it's been sitting now for months.
Yep.
I mean, the Biden administration just screwed the pooch on this. Okay. So he's saying, let's take it out of neutral. What gear it's going to go in is still up to some speculation here, if you will. But there's multiple agencies involved, as we've all seen.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a split in jurisdiction. When the Controlled Substances Act was passed in 1970, it gave jurisdiction to states. Okay? So states have the ability to pass their own laws. They can't change federal law, but they can pass their own laws. And what I like to point out to people, there's two things in the law. There's the de facto, how things are really working, and there's the de jure, how it's written.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, what Trump's doing here is he's getting out the bullhorn and saying, get off your ass and fix this, okay? Which is great, because that can then be played to the public out there. It's like the president recognizes that what we've been saying about marijuana is bullshit from the beginning. Stop it, okay? Now, I'm a veteran, and, you know, Molly and I had like 15,000 patients, and the majority of them were reducing opioids. That was the big issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to be advanced. But what I can also tell you from representing physicians for a long time is that the rules for getting a Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3, whatever license are in effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This doesn't change those. That's going to have to go back to Congress for some fixes. So I think that we can pick up the process and go forward. But one of the concerns I would have as an attorney is like, okay, this thing went into neutral. I want to go back and look at the evidence that HHS put forward to provide the background to put out a recommendation for rule change. Because I think it was put out by people who are mamby-pamby about changing this law. I think Robert Kennedy's HHS would bring forth better real-world evidence to prove this.
The evidence was simply that a bunch of doctors... Oh, whoops.
No, you're good. We hear you, Dr. T.
The evidence is simply that a bunch of doctors recommended cannabis to patients. That was HHS evidence. There were, basically, the same. People are doing it out there. Doctors are doing it. So let's change the rules.
Well, the problem is that the Chevron doctrine was taken away by the Supreme Court. Okay, so practically speaking, if you've got nonsensical, weak evidence to support this rule change, when you get to a real court, now there's no presumption of being right like there is under 811. HHS's evidence is presumed to be correct. But if it's worthless, you need to go back and scrub it and bring in better evidence. And I think a lot of better evidence exists out there. I mean, Mark, Gene, you guys you know of a lot of studies that are official or unofficial around the world that support everything you're trying to say. That needs to be there, that's academically vetted, that has been bounced around, and people say, this is what our opinions are about this plant. And that needs to be out there and part of this conversation, because you can bet your money that the people I talked about yesterday that are amicus curiae to this gun case, the Humani case, if Sam is broke, these others are out there passing the hat around, at their local bingo parlor, gathering money to go fight this. And if you don't have your ducks in a row, the federal courts will close this down, and then we're nowhere. Okay, so there's a lot of things, and I'm basically a skeptic. After all this year, I've been practicing law for a long goddamn time. I was in medicine before that, and I look at what they've done to doctors. They got doctors by the cojones right now. They're scared shitless to go out and really go rogue and just do what really should be done for their patients because of things like they did to Molly, threw us in prison. You dare to go off the reservation, you're going to go to prison. Yeah. So doctors are going to be hesitant to really jump out there until they make sure their parachute is well packed and they have a soft landing. A lot of things are going forward here, and I'm going to watch, just because I've been around the moon too many times to think that any governmental agency can fix anything. We're asking them to give us a horse, and I expect them to produce a giraffe. Yeah. And with the definitions of marijuana and hemp out there so messed up, HHS, FDA, USDA, I mean, these are going to be interagency pissing matches, and hopefully Trump has a big enough fist to go in there and knock the shit out of some people and just say, stop eating like this.
Yep. He does. Dale, don't you think that based on what Dr. Mark said about the right people kind of being around him, and that some of the language in here points to the fact that there's the right people informing him about all these things and that it can actually go the right way?
Oh, I agree. But what I've also found from representing cops and being involved in law enforcement politics is those sumbitches are buried deeper than a tick, okay? And trying to get them out is tough because they'll smile a lot, and we invite them to the policy-making table, okay? But my advice is treat them like a junkyard dog, okay? Make sure they're chained up and ready to go bite people, but don't invite them to the policy-making table, because their policy is, we want everyone to follow the law. And this is malum prohibitum law. People think it's stupid. People don't follow it. Cops are pissed off about this, especially policymakers. And they're going to stick their foot out and trip up every chance they get.
Now, I do think I'm just going to say, I used to write PR statements for the government for a while. And I will say the executive order, to Dale's point at the beginning, the executive order is very much just that. But we have to be mindful when we're giving out these orders and we're writing legal documents that this administration is always going to write what needs to be said and then whittle back. And that's not unique, actually. It's the best thing you can do when you're not 100% sure of what's next and you don't want to trigger anything. There's two things. I do think that there are good players in the room having the conversation. Like I said, the Texas Hemp Business Council has been active, and we were able to achieve something truly remarkable in Texas, protecting hemp while expanding medical. Let's see how that goes. And I believe that they are considering that, because hopefully the people in the room are explaining that if you try to capture this whole thing, if you try to capture hemp and marijuana through only a medical model, you will create this black hole that will open and expand for the illicit market. And you have to create a way for the people to actually participate in this market if you don't want it to self-cannibalize. So we're just seeing all of the work of all of these years, state programs, whether it was marijuana or hemp. We're going to see now how we do this on the federal level. But
now, Dr. Mark has to leave in a bit. He has a hard stop in 10 minutes, so I want to give Dr. Mark the floor to
I'm
address
the crown replaced.
that
wonderful opportunity.
Well, hopefully
getting your crown replaced. Like,
and I'm hoping you can kind of touch too on the fact that I think you'll probably be getting a large amount of funding for some of the studies that you've been working on trying to get funding now through this executive order, Dr. Mark.
I would think that this would lower the barrier required. I mean, I think Dale's got a good point. Like things like Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 and Schedule 3 licenses are still in place. If this thing goes to Schedule 3, it's just a whole lot easier to get a Schedule 3 license, which allows you to work with this. So I think there'll be more work because you won't have a onerous process to go through. I mean, I think if this increase, like I said, if this increases access and it increases the amount of doctors on this planet, like our own Dr. T, if there's more Dr. T's in the world, come on, man, that's a good thing. And but I will ponder this question, just because, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. The guy doesn't do anything without self-enriching himself. I want to know what's his grift.
Well,
what's the grift for him and his criminal family? Hold on. He doesn't do a damn fucking thing without getting something in return. So he
already got something in return from this.
I think a lot of people are thinking, is the Trump RX play kind of an intersection between, okay, we want to get CBD out and it's got to be through Schedule 3. Guess what? We got Trump RX. So now all of a sudden he's inserted himself into the supply chain. Well, so pay attention to what's going on, people. I think this is a great thing, JB. I'm psyched for you, and I'm psyched for all his supporters that think that, again, he did something really great. Remember, Joe Biden lit the fire. Trump poured some fuel on it, and certainly I think putting it over the goal line yesterday is a monumental day, and I'll take it up.
Then
you guys should be celebrating.
On that analogy, Dr. Mark, I would just say that Trump did what Joe Biden couldn't. Joe Biden may have started the thing, but really Joe Biden didn't really do it. It was his administration. It was a bunch of people, you know what I'm saying, whatnot. We all know that it wasn't really Joe Biden doing anything in that entire 4 years. It was a whole bunch of people behind the scenes. But nonetheless, Trump did it. Promises made, promises kept, and now Republicans have basically stolen the cannabis issue out of the Democrats' hands.
Well, remember, there's a lot of GOPers that aren't in favor of this at all, right?
That's all. So, they can be like that all they want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I think, Dr. Mark, I think they will come to heel, and I will say I do appreciate this has made my job in Texas a whole hell of a lot easier.
See,
thank you so much for that.
Yes,
on both the hemp and the cannabis side. Not just in Texas, on the federal conversation too. Everyone who is on the list for targeting, I get to change that conversation. I get to come in and say, we got President Trump who just said this thing here. So,
and shout out
here yet.
And shout out to Brian Dombrowski in the chat who says Biden couldn't light a match. And I don't know. Oh, but we do have Jenny Beth that decides to jump in today, and we do want to wish Jenny Beth a very happy birthday. Today is her birthday today, so happy birthday, Jenny
birthday!
Beth.
Yeah, let's go.
Right?
I'm 16 again. Can't wait. I'm gonna get my license. Jason's gonna take me to the DMV later. Biden forgot he had a match, so I don't know. I still am a little unhappy that we didn't just fully deschedule, but hey, I mean, we did something, and Jason's tune on Schedule 3 really changed when Trump did the thing. So
well, hold on, Jenny Beth, and well, hold on. So let me go into this and let me kind of explain that just so everybody and the reason my whole tune changed about it is because of what is inserted in this executive order. Straight up, I could not have written this executive order better myself, and I want to give kudos to the whole team that worked on this executive order because I think they did a phenomenal job. I think every one of us agree that they did a phenomenal job on this. They did a Take care, Dr. Mark. Much love and God bless, bro. This is the thing. They did the whole carve out to allow for full spectrum, whole plant medicine. Okay, so now that's a huge win right there. Okay, so because that stops the pharmaceutical industry from being able to come in and take over the whole entire industry. So that was what always was my biggest worry about. And this basically, the whole executive order is all about basically, not just weed for the people, but basically make medical cannabis great again. And I think that what you are going to end up seeing, and Dr. T, I think you're going to make a lot of money off this, and all the other doctors, because I'll tell you what, if I'm a business owner, the only way that I'm going to be able to take advantage of 280E is going to be through medical sales. And so therefore, I'm going to set up an iPad and have virtual doctor's offices in my dispensary. When people walk in, it's going to be like a paper mill, like the pill clinics that they had in Florida for a number of years for the opioid epidemic. Yeah, and so
you mean like the ketamine clinics that?
No, I don't. No, not the ketamine clinics. No, not the ketamine clinics. I'm talking about the pills where people were all getting the oxycodones and everything in Florida. We're going to be doing that, but in these dispensaries with medical recommendations for cannabis, because every operator, hold on, Shaun, every operator in the entire industry is going to want to take advantage of 280E. And if they're only able to do that through medical sales, they're going to have some type of mechanism to make sure that everyone is getting included in this medical framework. And hold on, Dale, I see you shaking your head, but at the same time,
that's why.
Why is that? How's that full of shit?
Well, here.
This does nothing that you just said.
It does.
Section 1 is purely political. It has zero, and I want to emphasize, zero legal effect.
I don't know.
It's just put out. No, you don't, because you don't know shit about the law. That's the problem.
I know lots about the law. I've been involved with law my whole life.
Do a fucking appendectomy. Shut up. I'm talking. You don't know
one at a time, please.
Go for it, Dale.
You don't know what you're talking about. The reason I'm here is because I've been practicing law since Hector was a pup. Dr. T's been practicing medicine the same goddamn time, and we deal with this all the time. What we have is a frustrating administrative state. His first statement was, look, you guys have screwed the pooch here so many times. Let's go think about this and try to fix it. It has zero, and I mean zero legal effect. None. It's a political statement. Section 2 has the executive order, okay? And all it says is, hey, take it out of neutral and let's go forward. Now we got to deal with these ridiculous goddamn administrative state that we have created since FDR was president, okay? And these are entrenched, and I'm just telling you, we're going to see this be a problem every step of the way. It's like I've been involved in trying to attack Schedule 1 multiple times in federal court, because the DEA wouldn't, check off the next box. You run there and you put on all your case, and the court goes, yeah, it shouldn't be in Schedule 1, but my only issue is to force them to go to the next step. I want these prohibitionists to be in the position we were always in. If they're going to do this, they're going to say, go to Schedule 3, they're going to run to court, and their proof is bullshit. And the question is, are we going to say we're going to move forward Schedule 3? We're not going to change anything else. I want them to be behind the 8 ball that we've been behind since 1970. Okay? This is going to flip that script. But inside these agencies, and this is what Musk tried to do. Tell me 5 things you did last week, and they can't tell you because they're unaccountable to shit. They just churn paper, drag their feet, dick around, justify their existence, and don't get anything done. And that's my skepticism here. I'd like to see this go.
I agree with you. There's an argument. There's going to be a discussion. Let's pay attention in this discussion. The good news is that there is a discussion. Before, we weren't having the discussion, so that's positive. Let's pay attention in the discussion to one thing: THC limits, because they are going to define it by ratio, but they're also going to define it by THC limit. What is the THC limit per serving, per package? That's going to really separate the type 3s from the type 1s. So we'll see what happens.
Still to your
still
point,
don't see how you're going to get anything other, perhaps a tincture, maybe a suppository, something like that, to be sold under a Schedule 3 license. Come on, Gene. You look up the PBR. There isn't a smokable product in there. You can't get laudanum anymore because they break it into morphine, codeine, theobromine, and all their substances.
That's why he had language in there on hemp. That's why he had the language.
Point here, okay?
Let Dale finish, Shaun. Let Dale finish.
The administrative agencies are entrenched. Okay, you're going to have to fight to get a product on the market. Epidiolex is helpful because it's an extract from full spectrum. Ativex is too. But these are tinctures you spray under your tongue. It's not flower you're smoking. Okay, it's not hash. It's not rosin. It's none of that stuff. Okay. The concern I have is that all these other products are not going to be allowed in the Schedule 3 license. And what no one can tell me is, what do you do about the black market? Because they're eating your lunch right now. Okay? You can take every cop in the nation and you can't stop the black market in marijuana. What are you going to do about that de facto reality? If you don't put a position out there that allows recreational, medical, and a Schedule 3 type of maybe small molecule product, black market's going to continue, and this problem is not going away. When they took away the prohibition of alcohol, they didn't have these problems. Okay? They just didn't, because alcohol is a single molecule. It's different. This one, if you're going to get full spectrum, and we can go to Ethan Russo, how many people you want to talk about that say we need full spectrum products out there, that the entourage effect is that's what it is. How do you get that split up, identified for physicians who want to give you an IV dose, want to give you a pill that's got X amount that gets out of your liver with the right product? These are what pharmaceutical companies do, and they're not going to change their stripes. Okay? Social equity problems are not going to ever get a Schedule 3 license. So that's going to continue to be a problem.
So,
I just want to wait and see how this.
Dale, Dr. Mark, hold on one second, Shaun. One second, Shaun, then I'm going to go to you. Dr. Mark just said in the chat that they are going to carve it out of the current FDA process, so the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act will not apply to full spectrum products, Dale. That's what Dr. Mark is saying. Go ahead, Shaun. Go ahead, Shaun.
I do think that they're going to make some new rules, and that this administration is not shy of making new rules.
No, we're not.
They're not shy. Also, I don't think injunctions through lawsuit are going to do a whole lot, because President Trump and other lawsuits has already indicated an injunction doesn't have to stop you until you solve it. That's a power I've never seen used, but there he goes. And I do, Dale, I want to soothe a little bit the anxiety, even though I am also worried, because like I said, this depends on two things. It depends on if they want to play nice or not, how they solve that problem, and the people in the room are having this conversation with them. I only feel confident in this because I know THPC is in Abbott's ear, and I know that they were out there. And I know in our material, we talk about the illicit market. I'm going to do a whole story on exactly what we presented and what I think. The point I really want to make is this can go two ways. They can try to capture hemp and marijuana exclusively for medical, and that's the anxiety. But I don't want everyone to give in to that. Our job now over the next 2 quarters is to make sure that we're putting forward some really sound policy that they can lean on, because they're not the experts in the room and they need to have those conversations. So I think he is trying to do it only because the point, full spectrum CBD and full spectrum hemp, I know what that means from what we talked about with Republicans in the Texas legislature, and they do understand this is a conversation about flower. And they also know if they don't solve that problem, and we need to educate them, if you create too many caps will also help the illicit market flourish. There are so many ingredients to getting this right. And I do think we just need to do our damn job. You spoke on the legislators being used to getting paid and doing nothing. And I'm going to say, I've had so many meetings with cannabis, both marijuana and hemp lobbyists, and we have a lot of people who are doing a lot of good, and power to them. But there are a lot of organizers out there with big names who, if I have another meeting where we're just going in circles about what we want to say and how we want to posture, we're not getting anything done, I am going to I just can't attend those meetings anymore. There's not enough weed in the world to help me settle.
Yeah.
We have to get organized, create a plan amongst ourselves and push it, because otherwise the only one who's really, really organized and the one closest to his ear at this moment is Miss Rivers from True Leave. It's Kim, y'all. So let's get our shit together, figure out if we can bring marijuana over to the hemp side, try to lift some of those caps so we make sure we don't create a hole for ourselves. And we have a pathway for pharmaceuticals also they're going to want to experiment with these molecules and how they can bring them into their current drugs.
So what you're saying, Shaun, is that THCV is going to become the new what's it called, Jenny? The new Ozempic.
It in a nutraceutical. Yeah.
THCV is going to be the new Ozempic, you guys.
2020.
Mm-hmm.
We have old Clubhouse from State of the Cannabis of me nerding out about THCV from
we don't mention that show on this platform.
We forget our roots, Jason.
Roots are in the ground.
I want to tag on here. It's not Kim Rivers that is in his ear. It's Howard Kessler and the Commonwealth Project, he's a member of Mar-a-Lago, and he's a big billionaire philanthropist, and he's super pro cannabis, and he's the one who's bringing all these doctors and people who are around Trump in the executive order signing. He's the one bringing those people around him. He's been in the cannabis industry for a long time. He seems to be like a good player. I've looked into him quite a bit. So Kim is a minor player in as far as being able to speak to Trump compared to Howard Kessler.
And I will point out too. I will point out too that that Kim Rivers was not in the Oval Office for the signing, but David Charles was, and he's with HIFA. So that he was in the room
doing a lot of good work. Hemp Industry Farmers of America.
Yeah, there we go.
They've been great.
Yeah, so there's some really great people who are advising Trump on this, who and that's why there's some great language. Dale, I feel like you're skipping over something that's really important in Section 2, and I want to get your opinion or flesh this out better for me, because I don't understand why you're jumping over it. But it seems like they're right at the end of Section 2. He commands the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Commissioner of Food and Drugs, the Administrator of Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and the Director of National Institutes for Health to develop research methods and models utilizing real-world evidence to improve access to hemp-derived cannabinoid products. Don't you think that he's recognizing, and this executive order recognizes a lot of the things that you said, that there's problems with the backlog of these legal definitions, and there needs to be new definitions created with utilizing real-world evidence?
Well, you look at term "shall" is a mandatory action in the law. Then the next word is "develop," which means nothing. Okay, so you put the two together and you shall go do something that is dependent upon an agency. And this is where I'm just telling you, I've butted heads with agencies for my entire career. These agencies are slower than molasses in January to change. Okay, and I can tell you for years of being involved in the cannabis industry is that the doctors who do this, and Molly was one, we had like 15,000 patients. They can bring forward credible evidence, okay? But when you develop the research tools to figure it out, you've got this polycomponent substance. The research is geared more towards single molecule. So you got to try to get people to put a round peg into a square hole. And that's where I'm just telling you, I'm a skeptic at heart. I used to be an ideologue, and I'm more of a cynic now about a lot of stuff, but I'm skeptical because I've just butted heads with agencies before, and you can change the head of an agency, but the people that actually push the paper around are the ones that control what happens there, whether it goes with alacrity or slower than molasses in January. I'm just concerned the Food and Drug Administration operates under a federal law, and they develop rules about how they research. And to make that unwind really quickly, I mean, I think it can be done, but we're looking at the hemp thing next year in a problem. Jason was telling us, oh, there's going to be a commission to deschedule.
Yep, there is.
Don't do that. No, there's not.
Yeah, there is. It's in the executive order to create one. What do you mean?
There is nothing in there that does anything to create any descheduling commission. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, the first part of this thing legally means nothing. And the second part of it, it says, I don't care what you think, you have rights under this, you have no rights under this. Leave us alone. We're trying to figure this out. That's what all that means. He's telling them, unblock this if you can. But Trump's going to be pulling his hair out, dealing with these administrative agencies. The administrative state we've created in the federal government is just, it's bullshit. You can't get anything done unless you're lobbying them. And the cannabis industry has run out of money, except for the bigger players. They're going to be able to lobby. Pharmaceuticals are going to be able to lobby. Okay. But the average out there, person who owns a hemp store in some state, they don't have the money to go lobby. So there's the practical reality. The people with money are going to probably get the ear of Congress and these agencies. The rest of us are going to stand there holding our virile member going, what happened to us?
Well,
That's this guy, Kessler.
Hold on. But and thank you, Jesse. I'm going to look into him. Thank you for that. But Dale, I'm saying it because there are hemp operators who did build from the ground up and who they fought it in Texas. What happened in Texas was different than what has happened. And it's not me, just a lack with hubris. Like, it was different, and they are having those conversations. Governor Abbott is very close to President Trump. They are having very intimate conversations. And one way to get this across the finish line, and I think we need to keep pushing, is hemp is not scheduled. The hemp-derived cannabinoids that are synthesized will now be scheduled, but hemp, the full spectrum, is not scheduled. Acknowledged that, and I think the Farm Bill
is scheduled
and a runway.
It is scheduled in the Farm Bill because they all have the same definition of cannabis sativa L in the Controlled Substances Act, Shaun, and that's just what it is. And he gives me even more the double down reasoning to say that as soon the October surprise is going to be a full descheduling with a renewed Farm Bill. That is going to be the whole play. It's going to be the easiest vehicle for Trump to get to the descheduling component on this to make cannabis great again, you guys. Dr. T, what do you have to say about this?
I think marijuana is scheduled, but hemp is not.
Yeah.
That's Shaun.
It's all has the same definition as in the Controlled Substances Act. That's what I'm trying to say, Dr. T. So
overlapping definitions.
It doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
It does.
Essentially, what you need is you need the marijuana industry to redefine themselves as hemp, and then now you have de facto descheduling.
It's all hemp. It's all hemp though, Dr. T, because they all have the same definition. Whether you know what I'm saying, it's like calling an orange orange or orange.
Jason,
it's the same thing.
But legally, they have different definitions, and even the president acknowledges this in his
this executive order.
So if I'm sitting in his chair and I'm an executive and I know I have an FDA, an HHS, and a DOJ I got to deal with to get deschedule done, and my more conservative supporters hate the word deschedule, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna move it down the schedule list, sure, and then I'm gonna solve the problem of hemp, alcohol, tobacco all in one sweep, and I'm going to create a hemp program like I did in 2018, and I'm going to kill two birds with one stone, and that gives me all that legislative runway. I don't even have to deal with those agencies. They got their head so far up their own ass, they're going to just mess themselves up. I'm going to run this through hemp, and we can push medical the way we have, and it buys me at least 2 to 4 years more time unless I don't want to move on an aggressive timeline. Who knows what's going to happen in elections? And oh, by the way, genius move. I just pulled all of the wind out of any Democrat who was hoping to campaign on cannabis.
Yep. Republicans own the issue.
And by the way, the heart of the movement, Humboldt County, now is petitioning to change they had banned hemp. Now they're saying They want to change that. All of the Humboldt County growers are considering getting hemp licenses to continue their business. That's they can do today.
That's right.
And if you want to talk about home grow, you can have a license for home grow, a hemp license to grow your own hemp for personal use in the state of Texas. Shh, shh, keep it quiet. Go get your license. You can grow at home. Hemp.
Well. Dale's shaking his head again. Dale's shaking his head again.
A whole lot of wishful thinking here.
Hey.
And I tell you, I'm the turd in everybody's punch bowl.
I love it.
Because I'm looking at this and it's like, this really doesn't do much other than let's get out of neutral and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And going forward, somebody in their diluted state decided, let's define hemp. Okay. That screwed everything up. If you read the definition of marijuana and compare it to hemp, it's like, what does this mean? We need more scientific clarity here, and we don't have it. Okay, and it gives the USDA, which has hemp, the ability to run with that, and the FDA is still stepping on its wang, and it's way out of proportion here, and it takes coordination between both sides to come in, and I tell them, shut the doors, get some beer, get some pizza, you guys figure this shit out. But I don't see it happening because they're fighting over so many stupid things. And we all like to think that cannabis is up there in the top 10 of problems in our country. It is not. Okay? I mean, I like this going forward. And I stumped for Prop 64, hoping the government would come in and fix the problems. They don't. They make them worse. And so I take any step away from being totally prohibited as a good step. Okay?
Dale, I think that I agree with you, and I think that I said that right out of the gate. That's in my notes. Look, Attorney General Pam Bondi is directed to expedite the rulemaking of Schedule 3 as fast as possible. That's a very generic statement, as fast as possible. So, and I think that this executive order very clearly agrees with you, which is why he's saying you've got to create new real world evidence. You've got to use that stuff and create new methods to inform this process. And that's agreeing with what you're saying, is that there is molasses. This has been a problem, and we've got to make this happen. So what happens if nothing does happen? That's the question.
Something is
and that's my concern.
Something is going to happen, and he threw the ball. Okay, I hear you, Dale. He threw the ball. We need to catch that pass and run it to the next yard line. We can't, they are not going to do everything. You're right. We are definitely not the most important issue, but when we are the issue, that's when traction picks up. So have those conversations before the headline. So when the headline happens, you've already influenced or informed or educated outcomes. This is the job.
Well, I agree with all that.
The industry.
Okay. My concern is I've built a lot of businesses to get around 280E. And I told all my clients, if we fix 280E, come back and we'll streamline this shit a lot. If this gets to Schedule 3, 280E does not apply because it only applies to Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 drugs. Okay. Now, my accountant's going to start working differently. And there's a whole lot of work that can be done to help these state businesses. Concern that I have is that since 1970, I'm old enough to remember how this got started, and I've watched every step along the way where nothing gets done. You fight like hell, and in the end of the day, what you get is like kissing your sister. Okay, well, what did I get out of that? Okay, that's my concern, and pharmaceutical is looking to exploit this, okay? And it's exploitable. Grabbing single molecule, THCV is one. We all know that's what the Zulus used before they went into war. Jacks you all up. It's great. Maybe cut your appetite down. Ozempic's going to be, let's shoot a little THCV.
Yep.
They're salivating to do that, and they want to get rid of the bureaucratic morass they have to get through with this. And if it gets out of Schedule 1, it clears the pathway. And they have the money to lobby for what we're all talking about here. We want the Congress to do. I just have never seen the Congress actually do the right thing for the right reasons in some reasonable time. Because the time frames I'm looking at, we're looking at 6 months to a year for this administrative process and rulemaking process. Then someone's going to federal court. That's going to be 1 to 2 years. So the farm bill issue is going to come back up. What do we do now? Okay. And I got my popcorn. I'm channeling George Carlin. I'm up here.
Yeah.
30,000.
You are definitely our George Carlin, Dale. That's for sure.
This
Dale,
wet dream.
I think I hear
Every
what
way
you're
you can.
saying, but you have no choice in this industry but to, and maybe it's I was telling everybody before we got on air, I got some farm fresh cheetah piss. I don't love the name, but oh my God,
it is a great
so
name.
Good.
It's really supposed to be
Maybe
cat
it's that, but
piss. It's just rebranded.
I'm very channeling William Wallace. Thank you, ancestors. And I'm saying, listen, they haven't killed us. He addressed full spectrum hemp and this conversation. That tells me he knows he's got Farm Bill coming up. He's got a whole lot of shit going on, like trying to declare war on Venezuela tactfully. Although,
oh boy, there we
folks
go.
are not so sure about
Epstein
that.
files. Don't forget those.
Epstein files.
Epstein
also.
files. Today's Friday. They're supposed to get released today.
I want to see Bill.
Oh,
Clinton.
yeah. Here we go. Yeah.
He's got Farm Bill coming up. Like I said,
I'm telling you, the Farm Bill is going to be the October surprise that is going to deschedule cannabis and is going to ensure
Dr. T,
the victory.
How would you feel about calling it a prescription? I want my client to get a gram of lion piss or cougar piss or something like that.
It's called cat piss, Dale. It's called cat piss. It's called cat piss.
Jeremy Greens, thank you so much.
Easy there, Shaun.
You got your cheetah piss. Hey, he's a great farmer. I'm gonna just shout out my good
Easy
farmer.
there.
Got you, Jeremy Greens.
I need the
I'm in a
COA.
good mood.
Get the COA, Shaun. I
Yes.
want to know what's in it.
Here's our COAs here. We got
Do you have
COAs,
Do you have terps?
THCV.
Do you have terps on it?
I will pull that for you, Doc.
Thank you. I
Immersing
think
in
when
lime
you say
those are-
round peg into a square hole, you're right. I think that we have to remake the hole as round. So we have to change the research paradigm of the medical industry. So to me, as an alternative medicine physician, this is bigger than cannabis. This is bringing in herbal medicine as a possibility if cannabis does this correctly. So I'm very excited about the long-term consequences of really bringing the whole herbal medicine market into legitimacy with physicians. And the thing about herbal medicines is it's not about the moat. I have a special formula. I have the right strain to fix you, because it's not about the strain, it's about the person. And the wellness of the person changes from person to person. And it's about their journey with whatever plant they choose. Changing different plants. So it puts a focus on the person, which is difficult for the pharmaceutical industry because they make their money off of the creating a moat around the product, not the person. And so it really takes their money away in some ways, or anyone's money away, except for those who are serving those patients and guiding them through different parts of the plant.
Well, and this goes clear back to the Rockefeller Initiative in the late 1800s, and the Flexner report covers this, where modern medicine just took old techniques and threw them in the trash. Chiropractic went away. Herbal medicines went away. All that was taken away for pharmaceuticals. And, at that point, they were developing these like crazy all over, especially in Germany, where they were really tearing apart molecules and making these single molecule pharmaceuticals. And that's where it went. And the chiropractic community had a fight to come back in just to get legitimacy and get paid. Alternative medicine still is looked down upon by the policymakers in medicine. You're right. I mean, I saw 20 patients a day for a dozen years, and you get a feel for patients and how to make them more comfortable. And pharmaceuticals and the medical system needs to play into who are you, how do we communicate with you and make you more comfortable. And I always like to tell people, smoking weed has never killed anybody. Every pharmaceutical drug out there has killed somebody. Okay. So we're talking about, we're scared. Fuck you. It's never killed anybody. Why don't we talk about that and just so many anal retentive people out there trying to control this that it unnerves me. I want to rip people's faces off. I'm so done with politics.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to be hopeful when I've seen the morass had to deal with and go to, hearings and be told, well, we don't care what you have to say. Our guys are right. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. That's what I see happening here. And I would like to see Trump and Kennedy and some just go in, open the door for whoever's in charge and tell them, you fix this shit or you're out. Hey, we're tired of playing games here. You play a lot of games.
Yep. Well,
don't you think that's the spirit of this entire executive order, Dale?
I do.
It is.
I do. Yeah, Trump's going to get ready to say, you guys are going to fix this or you're fired.
But the spirit is not creating a law and changing things.
No, it's directing it to be done.
Well, yeah, but it's directing it how. We want you to work together, join hands, sing kumbaya. That's not an order I can take to court and say you're violating this order. That's the problem I have.
But Dale, you know how in litigation it's like a strategy to we're not going to do everything in one hearing or one setting. I'm going to drag this out a little bit. And so he's got to use his levers. And this one is definitely a lever for campaign season. Sometimes you can do everything in one hearing. Sometimes some not so nice lawyers will kind of bleed you out.
Well,
several hearings. I think this is one of those situations. And it's not even something that I'm going to say is negative about the administration. It's a normal political tool that's been used since I can remember. Every executive has held this ability to decide when and where they want to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me just come back with this, okay, and tell you that when you're having a trial, you don't get to just have little parts of the problem put in front of a jury. The whole problem goes in front of a jury. I've had plenty of hearings where I do single issue. That's not what we're talking about here. I see these prohibitionists, they're not going to just pack up their dolls and go away.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to fight every way they can because these are all emotional belief systems for them. They don't want to hear facts. Now, I would be happy to be involved and kick the shit out of these people in court because I think they're so full of shit, okay, and their emotional beliefs are not admissible in court. I want to see factual evidence. That's why I said earlier, I would take a look at the entire file, piece by piece, and see how strong's our evidence. Because I want the best evidence going forward so I can put experts in the witness chair. I can have studies and say, this is our opinion, and we can back it up with facts. I don't want someone's feelings in this anymore. I want facts. And, Gene, there's plenty of them out there. There's plenty of facts out there that I would like to have there and have an expert like you on and say, these are the studies we have. These are the facts we have. This is how medicine works. Mm-hmm. We win, you lose, get the fuck out of here. And I'd like to see these people squashed like bugs because they're a pain in the ass.
Pow.
Well, the one difficulty is the THC high. The FDA sees it as an adverse event, while many in the community see it as the targeted outcome of the event.
Yeah, well said.
So that has to be reconciled out there with those guys. And which is why a lot of products in the pharmaceutical are not THC because they really see it as a negative to get high.
So in today's show, we did, as normally we are a 6-story show. We did have 5 other stories that we're not going to end up getting to today, but I do want to read the headlines of these, you guys, and then we'll go down the line. We'll start with Shaun, Jesse, Dr. T, and Dale. And then I'll throw my closing 2 cents in. I want to hear everybody's last closing thoughts on this. It's a big day, a lot to go over, and we're going to talk about this more and more in the weeks to come, going in. But the other stories today that we were going to cover, and you can read all of them on our website at www.highat9news.com. There was a major cannabis study finds little proof for popular medical claims and flags big dangers, and that was just a really good gaslighting story, and we mentioned it. We were going to cover it yesterday on yesterday's show today. CBD may protect the brain from damage caused by common food and environmental pollutant, a study finds. Are THC beverages the future of civilized intoxication? Probably not, because you know what I'm saying, but whatever, you know. But surviving versus thriving in a new era with a hemp ban. Well, don't worry, it's not going to be banned too long, because we're going to fix that farm bill, and that was listed in the executive order. And finally, and now this is the big trickle down effect of this executive order, you guys, because it's not just having major implications here in the United States, but also across the globe. And this is huge news right here, because the UAE, better known as the United Arab Emirates government, by a royal decree, issues a federal royal decree law regulating industrial and medical uses of industrial hemp. Now, this is a country that has killed people before for having cannabis in their bloodstream. And so this is huge news. This is a major development and whatnot. And I may probably just cover this whole thing on Monday, but nonetheless, please, Shaun, final words, whatever you got to say today.
I am looking forward to just continue the fight. We aren't going to change anything if we don't have the conversation. I'll definitely be on next week. And we'll cover the Rolling Stone article on surviving in the new era. But I'm also working on an article for High at 9 News and Beard Bros Media. That'll be my plan, at least for lobbying and legislation, what I think we should do, since we still seem to be so confused as to what steps we should take next. Mm-hmm. So I'll have it for you next week. Thanks, Jason.
I love it. Jesse, what do you got to say, Jesse?
Congratulations to the medical programs in every state. You're in the House, especially as this progresses and it goes through. Also, congratulations to all of the people who are growing type 3 CBD flower and creating full spectrum products out of that. You are also in the House, especially as this goes through. Even right now, if it's just political, it's still a good message for you guys, so it's really helpful to your businesses. And then for those who are in the adult use market and trying to rock that, sorry, this is not going to help you. You're going to have to either choose to go towards the medical, or you're going to have to go back to the legacy market. Make your choice and start doing it now. Mm-hmm. And congratulations to the entire industry. I think this is beneficial. The medical markets in every state have always created higher quality products than the adult use markets, because the green rush always harms the quality. Mm-hmm. So that's good. It's going to create. It's overall it's going to be very good. And if it does all happen as I think it's going to happen and harm the adult use markets, for those who are in the legacy market, prices are going to go up. So everybody's going to make more money.
Yeah. Bring the prices up all the way.
Yep.
Medicare for all.
That's right.
Yeah.
And General Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi, better get to work. Otherwise, I think she's going to get fired.
Mm-hmm. Go for it, Dr. T.
I just want to point out my story for today. The fried foods that you're eating, the McDonald's fries, the burnt toasts, the KFC could all be contributing to your cognitive decline as you age because of this chemical in it. And guess what? CBD helps prevent that. So have your daily CBD dose. The study was on an animal model. With this new suggestion, we could start some real world studies on your CBD intake and long-term cognitive decline.
You're going to be
looking forward to that.
Man, once they start pouring in all this money for all these studies, Dr. T, I hope we still have access to you for the show, because you're going to be getting all kinds of federal dollars to do all kinds of federal studies on stuff like this.
Yeah, not so far. So I'll be here for a while.
Yeah, I love it.
Hey, weed for the people, right? It's about getting the information out to the people.
Yes, it is. Exactly right. Dale, what do you got to say, Dale?
Well, as you know, I'm the turd in the punch bowl, and I have been butting heads with administrative agencies for like 4 decades now. My head hurts. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what I can say is that Donald Trump's the first person who publicly put out a statement like it's contained in Section 1, tell people how stupid they've been and the way they've been handling this. Okay. And let's please use a little more common sense here. Okay. And as much as you may think Bobby Kennedy's controversial, he cuts through a lot of the bureaucratic bullshit that has to do with the way medicine's practiced today. So, because he recognizes doctors, and I love them. I've been married one for a long time. A lot of clients, they're pusillanimous when it comes to fighting the government. They do what they're told. If they threaten your prescribing license, you get in line. And I'm not talking everybody. It's not absolute. I don't want to be too reductionist now. But I've talked to too many physicians. When you mention the DEA, their butthole puckers up because they're scared of them. Okay? And they shouldn't be. Physicians practice medicine because it's complicated. The waters are deep. Okay. And as Dr. T knows, if you can develop a relationship with your patient, most of the time you can make them healthier. But when every place you turn, your hands are tied and you can only prescribe certain medications, only certain can be paid for, blah, blah, blah. It turns into just a shit show. I would like to see cannabis freed. This is incremental. I've been doing this for 26, 27 years now. And every time I get hopeful, I get kicked in the ass. Okay. So I'm just telling you my experience. Let's watch this. And I really do not like the administrative state that is sort of evolved in Washington. And I applaud Trump for smacking him in the mouth. I want him to smack him in the mouth more because they do not allow anything to get done. They're dinosaurs, okay? You still send shit by snail mail, okay? We need to get more efficient here because all of us are going, hey, this works. You can't find too many people who will tell you it doesn't work. Why are we still here arguing about this? So I got my popcorn ready, and I'm hopeful. I'm not making a large bet yet.
Yep, fair enough. And on that, I do just want to, congratulate everyone that worked on this and thank President Trump for promises made, promises kept. And we're going to see and follow all of this, and see how all of this plays out. I know I have my opinions, others have their opinions. I think my opinions are right as they think their opinions are right. And we're going to wait and see, and we're going to cover it all here for you every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast for you at High at 9 News. So make sure you guys stay tuned, stay lit, and remember, Schedule 3. It's a momentous day in history. We've all been waiting years and years and years for something like this to happen. And I'm just so excited. And I just want to say to all the naysayers, especially all the naysayers that were at the victory party for legalization of the passing of Prop 64 back in 2016. I told you guys Trump was going to do this, and none of you guys wanted to listen to me. You guys all wanted to be crying little babies in the room, and wah, 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 oh, wah, 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 wah. But guess what? He did it, and we're going to do it, and we're going to keep on doing it, and we're going to keep on winning, and that's America is going to keep on winning, and so is cannabis, because cannabis is part of America. And on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing today. And thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. You beautiful little Schedule 3 little girl, you. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show, patented and trademarked.